I call the member for Kellyville.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, today I rise on behalf of the more than 22,000 residents who have signed this petition, residents frustrated by out-of-control planning growth and the lack of infrastructure investment by the Minns Labor government. This petition, Fight for a Fairer Hills Future, was initiated by the Hills Shire Council, and I acknowledge in the gallery the Mayor of the Hills Shire Council, Dr Michelle Byrne, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Frank Damassi, the councillors of the Hills Shire. I also notice councillors from Blacktown Shire, and also the General Manager of the Hills Shire, Mr Michael Edgar. I also acknowledge the hundreds of people who are present here in the gallery today and in Parliament, and the many thousands listening on WebEx. Mr Speaker, both Blacktown and the Hills Shire have been the engine room of housing growth for more than 30 years, with both shires sharing the major road corridor of Old Windsor Road as their boundaries. Both shires have been productive partners of successive state governments when it comes to the delivery of hundreds of thousands of new homes and local infrastructure on behalf of our families and our communities. No one could arrogantly call residents or us, their representatives, NIMBYs, as these areas have done more than their fair share of the heavy lifting when it comes to housing delivery in New South Wales. Under the future growth as dictated by the Minns Labor government, the Hills will be forced to accept over 23,300 30-storey apartments and an increase in over 60,000 residents in just the next 5 years, without any proposed additional schools, parks and playing fields, or important major road upgrades. This is just in the next 5 years. In total, the Hills will be forced to accept over 140,000 new residents by 2040.
Member for Camden.
Mr Speaker, if I go back to 2011 when our New South Wales Liberal government came to power, recognising the massive growth that was already occurring in the Hills and Blacktown area and following years of neglect by the previous Labor government, we built the world-class Sydney Metro system starting at Tullawong. We built North Connects and West Connects, linking our areas with the city CBD and the airport. Locally, we upgraded Showground Road, Memorial Drive, Windsor Road and Old Windsor Road intersections, built Schofields Road and South Street and Richmond Road and the Prospect Highway, to name but a few. We also built dozens of schools such as Bella Vista Primary School, North Kellyville Primary School, Tullawong Primary School, Samuel Gilbert Primary School, the Ponds High School, John Palmer Primary School, and we provided land at Caddy's
Order.
Creek.
Members on my right, you will have your chance.
We provided land at Caddy's Creek for 8 playing fields and millions of dollars in grant funding for new parks and playing fields across our area. And we bought the land at Box Hill for the new schools, which this government is now taking credit for. But importantly, Mr Speaker, we also put $300 million into the 21-22 budget, commencing a new hospital at Rouse Hill. Mr Speaker, that is what a responsible government does. They don't take the lazy approach like the Minns Labor government and increase the height of apartments to 30 storeys, forcing thousands of children to be raised in an apartment block without a backyard. That's not creating great communities, Premier. It's sentencing families to a constrained life of overpopulation density without appropriate local services and educational facilities necessary for the well-being of themselves and their children. Our residents are visioning a rapidly looming infrastructure crisis being supercharged by an irresponsible Labor state government with no plans to solve it. Any fair-minded member of the Northwest community is entitled to ask what upgrades are planned to cater for the additional traffic on Windsor and Old Windsor roads when 60,000 new residents move in over the next 5 years. And importantly, what are the completion dates, not the broken promises date, which the Premier himself acknowledged yesterday is stock in trade for Labor governments.
Order.
Mr Speaker, what schools will be built in the Kellyville Bella Vista Todd precinct on behalf of the expected 30,000 new residents, and where are the parks and playing fields in this area to accommodate our children? In an area which is a nursery for talented young boys and girls who have gone on to represent our state and country, Where are we going to provide the parks and playing fields to support thousands of young individuals as they grow? And is this government serious about demanding Hills rates be increased by 450% to fund essential infrastructure, as we learnt last week, which is absolutely absurd? We have, Mr. Speaker, had enough, and you'll hear more from my colleague very soon.
Thank you. I call the member for Riverstone.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, it is quite an honour to speak on this petition debate. As the member for Riverstone, of all of the people in this place, I understand the magnitude of what happens when a government rezones land and puts in tens of thousands of homes without the infrastructure to support that. I acknowledge the Hillshire Mayor and the Deputy Mayor, and of course Councillor Cartwright and Councillor Singh from Blacktown Council, who are in the chamber today. I want to provide some context. The member for Kellyville will have you believe that this started before the Liberal government was in place, but the Liberal government came in place in 2011, and at that time Box Hill and Nelson had 1,738 residents. By 2018, that number had actually dropped by 100 residents to 1,647. But from 2018 to 2023, that number jumped to 18,378. That's more than 1,100% increase in population. That is what has happened by the rezoning and the changes to the bylaws that happened under both the Liberal state government and the Liberal Hills Council. It was they who were complicit in forcing all of this population into our area, and it went on and on and on. I have a quote from the Hillshire Mayor from 2017. It's actually on the website, talking about the New South Wales government's announcement to rezone land around the new Bella Vista and Kellyville stations as a move that will provide certainty for Hills residents. She said this will provide certainty to everyone in the Hills about where density will ultimately be concentrated. It's always been Council's vision to locate density around transport and town centres. And she noted that the Council's role will be to make sure the delivery of community facilities and public domain in the same area. Of course, this is the same mayor who in 2015 was outraged by the doubling of dwellings in the Showground Station precinct. But then in 2019, made specific changes to the LEP around the Showground Station precinct, including the introduction of new clauses regarding maximum number of dwelling numbers and corrections to building heights and floor space ratios. These were the actions very, very clearly of the former Liberal state government and the current Hills Liberal-dominated council. And of course, money has been allocated for council projects that should be put on. It should be noted that in June 2013, there was a $4.5 million funding for developer contributions for the Showground Road precinct, and the contributions are to be used for community facilities as a direct result of development. And so Fred Catterson Reserve was identified, but that $4.5 million was put into an elite rugby club with a 21-year lease to the Eastwood District Rugby Union Club. The population was locked out of that. The same thing happened again with the $118 million Rugby League Centre of Excellence in Kellyville, not for community, but for the Parramatta Eels. This situation goes on
Order.
and on and
All
on.
members,
There's another
order.
one in Caddy's Creek for AFL. Again, locking out local residents for developer contributions. Now, of course, it's not all about the complicitness of the former government. It's about what we're doing to sort out this situation. And what we are doing in the first hand, particularly in the case of Box Hill and the broader Hills area, is bringing in more schools, because we are absolutely clear that the students and the parents and the families in the Box Hill and Hills area were starved for schools. In fact, the only schools that they got was the Bella Vista Public School and the North Kellyville Public School back in 2019. By contrast, we've done a new Box Hill Public School and Preschool, Box Hill High School, new primary school and preschool in the Gables, new primary school in Tullawong, an upgrade to the Excelsior Public School, upgrade to Rouse Hill, upgrade to Matthew Pearce, upgrade to Castle Hill Public. We have contributed millions of dollars, over $500 million in schools infrastructure. The Mayor is very clearly confused about this, because she talks about they're not good enough, they need to be permanent. And of course they are being permanent. It was a desperate time for desperate measures. So if this was genuine, if the premise of this was genuine, I'd be hugely supportive of it. But I can't help but wonder whether the campaign is designed to benefit the Hills community or to bolster the chances of Michelle Byrne as a candidate for Kellyville, when the factional heavyweight over there, and quite frankly, as a community representative, is a lightweight, is handing the baton
Member for
over.
Leppington.
If the residents of the Hills want a fairer go for the Hills' future, the only clear way to do that is to vote for a Minns Labor government into the future and to vote out the Liberal Council.
Thank you. The question is that the House take note of the petition. I'm going to call the member for Hawkesbury. Can I say to the members on my right, the points that the member was trying to make in that last part of his speech could not be heard because of your cheering and supporting. Sometimes the best thing you can do to help is be silent. I call the member for Hawkesbury.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and can I acknowledge any veterans and serving members who may be with us today, and thank you for your service. And I also pay my respects to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for the freedoms we enjoy today. I'd like to also acknowledge the Mayor of the Hills Shire Council, the Deputy Mayor, fellow councillors from that area, and also our honoured guests who have come to this gallery to hear the debate today. Mr Speaker, Box Hill is one of the fastest growing areas in New South Wales. It's attracted aspirational individuals who have moved into the area to raise their families, connect with their community and to lead a full and contented life. The original plan for Box Hill accommodated 9,600 homes and around 28,000 residents, supported by 4 schools, 3 public schools and 1 private school. Today, those figures have risen to 16,000 homes with 50,000 residents, yet no additional schools have been announced to meet the significant population growth. In fact, the Minns Labor government has confirmed that they won't be purchasing Lot 48 Terry Road, Box Hill for the co-located high school, primary school and preschool to cater for an expansion of student population as the area continues to grow. Shame on you. And it doesn't stop there. There are still no adequate plans to upgrade our roads, no adequate plans to deliver the playing fields our families deserve. The reality is that the infrastructure is not keeping pace with the growth of housing, and our community is being left behind.
Order.
Mr Speaker,
Order.
Box Hill is facing a staggering $207 million infrastructure shortfall. Let me tell the Minns government exactly what Box Hill constituents are missing out on. They're being denied essential infrastructure and
Members on my right.
services
Order,
that our
please.
community desperately needs. Let me remind you, 14 traffic signals,
Through the chair,
10
please.
roundabouts, 3 vehicle bridges.
Order.
Mr. Speaker,
Members on my right, please.
Thank you,
And the
Mr.
member on my
Speaker.
left, please speak through the chair as opposed to straight across
Mr
the chamber.
Speaker, the Box Hill people are losing out. They need 2 pedestrian bridges, 13 kilometres of half-width local roads, 10.4 kilometres of shared paths, 16 playing fields are missing, 7 local parks, 7 drainage basins. This shortfall is just... You
Members.
guys are in government, not us. We're
Order.
the opposition. You have to find the solutions. You put your hand up to say
Order.
you'll fix everything in this state and you're doing absolutely nothing for these good people of Box Hill here.
Members on my right, please, and again, I urge the Speaker at the lectern to speak through the chair instead of across the chamber, please.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I met one of the hard-working mothers of Box Hill who had recently moved into the area, hoping to build a better life for her children. She was drawn by the promise of growth, opportunity and improved infrastructure, all touted by the Minns Labor government as well. But today, she's looking to move again. Why? Because the reality is it doesn't match the rhetoric. Instead of safer roads and reliable services, she's greeted daily by traffic cones, where traffic lights should have been. There's a gridlock of traffic trying to get onto Windsor Road. They all text me and say, look, I'm stuck in traffic. It's taking me 45 minutes to get somewhere that could have taken 15 minutes. There's a lot of stories like this that I could spend a lot of time, Mr Speaker, about, but I can't because I'm reminded of the back in the Bob Carr built nothing days. For 16 years, we had no freeways, no new bridges, no major infrastructures, Mr Speaker. It's what we can expect from the Minns Labor government. I'd like to think not. I hope I'm wrong, and that where we are today, we will move forward from that. Mr Speaker, the member for Riverstone stated in his PMS yesterday, I'd like to be able to finish in silence, that the Minns Labor government is not just backfilling
Order.
infrastructure
Member Flippin.
deficits. This is what the member for Riverson said. The Minns Labor government is not just backfilling infrastructure deficits, it is finally working towards getting ahead of the growth curve. That is a shift from reactive planning to proactive delivery, which the community desperately needed. Well, Box Hill needs that infrastructure as well. So don't deny the people of Box Hill what they have been waiting for and they deserve. But, Mr Speaker, the member for Riverson is right to some extent because, guess what? There's $276.3 million over 4 years for Garfield Road. Similarly, the government recently announced Maitland, the electorate would get Thornton Road Bridge duplication and upgrade for $50 million, $1 billion for the upgrade of 15th Avenue. Is that pork barrelling or what? What do you call that? Honestly,
Order.
At the end of the day, Mr Speaker,
Members.
we need a solution and this government isn't promising it.
Member for Riverstone, order. Member for Parramatta. Okay. All speakers will direct their comments through the chair, please. I call the member for Blacktown.
Thank you, Speaker. And I too wish to welcome all the people from the Northwest. According to Ray Williams, there's thousands of people in the gallery and on TV, but I suppose that's what you can always believe from Ray. And I thank the 20,000 petitioners, Mayor Michelle Burns, Tina Cartwright, the Deputy Mayor and everybody else that's here, the CEO. The population across Western Sydney has been a given. Since 1950s, we've been growing at a rapid rate. Now, since the Minns Labor government, with Minister Paul Scully in the chamber here, we're trying to rebalance the population growth and spread the load and love right across the Sydney Basin. I welcome the Mayor's advocacy on this issue. The Mayor has said previously when the Liberals were in power, and I quote, those 12 long years that the Liberals were in power, when they changed and the Liberal government changed the zonings in the hills, the Mayor said, I'm outraged that the community and the council has been deceived. I agree with you, Mayor. Where was Ray Williams at the time when your government was deceiving Michelle Burns in her first term as Mayor? The Mayor then said, I'll be writing to the Minister for him to intervene. I think you've probably had more meetings with Paul Scully than you had with the Liberal ministers over the time. Then again, Mr Speaker, the Mayor has also, at the same time expressing her outrage, has turned around and said, we appreciate that the New South Wales government doesn't have a pot of gold with which to solve all the state's infrastructure problems. So 1 minute she's outraged, next minute she's saying, oh, well, there's not enough money there. Who got to you, I want to know. Unless there was something about a pre-selection challenge to Ray Williams or something, I don't know. Let's look at Rouse Hill Hospital for a second. Ray Williams stands up here, or the member for Kellyville, and tries to espouse that he's the fountain of all knowledge for Rouse Hill Hospital. In 2014, under much fanfare, $700 million was going to go to Rouse Hill Hospital announced, with shovels. Still probably got the shovels. Then cancelled at the 2016, straight after the state election. In 2018, new location, new announcement on the Blacktown side this time, but this time only $300 million. 2019, after the election, hospital cancelled. In 2021, new location, new announcement, still $300 million. This time it went to state planning, never approved, even though in 2023, the member for Castle Hill, or then the candidate for Castle Hill, the failed candidate in Riverstone for the Liberal Party, and Ray had their shovels there, but once again, never approved. Even the council raised concerns at the time, raising concerns saying, where's the road infrastructure budget to support the Rouse Hill Hospital? Delivered by Labor. We delivered maternity. We went from $300 million to $920 million, working with the federal government who've supplied money through Michelle Rowlands, with the advocacy of Warren Kirby, who's the Riverstone Labor MP, with Tina Cartwright and all the Labor team out there working together. We're delivering now ED, a hospital, maternity, a full functioning $900 million hospital. Then again, Michelle Burns has put this petition together, and we welcome that, and it's really good. But at the same time, a lot of those items that's listed, Mr Speaker, through the petition were actually all council issues. And it's great to have so many people from the Hills here, and according to Ray Williams, thousands watching online. Let's have a quick look at the cash balance of the Hills Council. The cash equivalent investments in 2021 was $471 million. By 2024, the last annual report, $548 million and no debt. Increased by $77 million. Their developers' contribution. The developers' contribution for parks and reserves that they're all waxing lyrically at the moment about, $134 million in 2021 to $243 million. The people in the gallery there, the people out on the streets want council to be able to put the money into the community, not just bloated bank accounts when the residents are facing cost of living pressures, where they're paying mega interest on their mortgages, but the council is squirreling money away because they got $500 million to earn interest on. Where's that all going? It's time that we look after residents. This Labor government under Chris Minns as the Premier, Paul Scully, we are delivering for the community. We are providing the infrastructure, and about time that politics gets out of it, and let's help the people of the Hills and Blacktown.
I thank the member. The question is that the House take note of the petition. I call the member for Castle Hill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I also too want to thank the Hill Shire Council for bringing this very, very important petition to this council. The council clearly understands the very deep concerns of the residents of the Hill Shire Council regarding the need for infrastructure. I also acknowledge the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors, and also the General Manager who's up there at the top there, sitting up there. Hello, Mr. Regger, how are you? Look, the petition raises numerous issues, Speaker. It raises issues that the council needs 45 key intersections, improving bus and walking and cycling connections to metro stations, funding more sports fields, and also committing to building 13 new public schools, although with the additional housing created by HDA and loaded mid-rise, that's now 15 new schools required in the Hills. Speaker, the Hill Shire Council has some of the most overcrowded schools in the state, and the situation is getting worse day by day. 3 of the schools operating in the Hills are double their enrolment cap, and the Minns government is doing nothing about it. I'll be heard in silence.
Order.
All the Minns government does, Speaker, is claim that it's building 600 new classrooms in the Hill Shire Council. But when we have a look at it, a lot of those schools are actually in Blacktown and not in the Hill Shire. When we do our proper analysis, you need to do your proper analysis.
Order.
The population growth in the Hills means that we'll need 13 new public schools to keep pace with planned growth. Speaker, earlier this week, I happened to be over, and this is what we hear from the residents of the Hills. I was over at Castle Towers and I was talking to some residents. Actually, I run into a lady by the name of Kelly. Now, I don't know Kelly, but I just spoke to her and I said, look, I'm the member for Castle Hill. The very first thing Kelly said to me was, she said, we need more schools.
Order.
She said, where are our children going to schools? And that was a heartfelt plea from a mother. She also said to me, all the mums are talking about there's not enough schools in the Hills. They're worried. And they're worried because you're not doing anything. So on behalf of Kelly and all the mothers, I ask the Minister, through the Chair,
Order.
Minister...
Okay. Yeah, I am going to stop the clock. I'm going to stop the clock. Member for Castle Hill, please sit down for a second. I'm going to hear from the member for Swansea.
Mr Speaker, the Speaker is being quarrelsome with the members on this side of the House, and he is not passing his comments through you, as he knows that is the rules of this House.
Yep.
I would ask that you bring him into line and ask him to please make his comments through you.
Thank you. I was also going to add to the member that... Can I just rule on that one first? The incited noise on my right tends to come when speakers start pointing and speaking directly across the House. There's far less when it's coming through the chair, and it's far less fuel for the fire. So I'm going to ask you to be mindful of that, please. And the member for Terrigal, point of order.
Further to the point of order, Mr Speaker, I'd point out Standing Order 52.
Yep.
Members are to be heard in silence. At no stage during this debate has anybody from this side interjected against when these speakers are being heard. And I'd ask you to refer Standing Order 52. If you want to interrupt, you can just leave the chamber.
I thank the member for Terrigal for his point of order. The member for Castle Hill, please restart the clock and direct your comments through the chair.
Certainly, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I want to have a quick look at the showground precinct as well. As we know, the Minister for Planning and Public Spaces in September 2023 removed the cap for dwellings. So that area now can have at least 9,500 new homes, which is about 20,000 residents. A lot of people, and yet there's no schools. Now I know that the Premier and the Minister were out at the Hill Showground precinct on the 31st of August, and you would have seen some cranes. You would have seen cranes and cranes. More cranes, Speaker, all over the place. Those cranes are building apartments, but not one crane is building a school. So we've got all this building in the Showground precinct, but absolutely no schools. You know, Speaker, I had a quick look at the Landcom website. The Landcom website refers to the need for more schools, and that's your website. What does it say? Schools Infrastructure New South Wales has confirmed that a new primary school is required to meet the future demand generated within the wider Hill Showground area. Now that was put on the Landcom website in May 2024. That's a date. May 2024. Well, it's now 2025, and you've done nothing. You've done nothing in the Showground precinct.
Order.
On the 25th of July, the Minister for Education advised that the Hill Shire Council will be consulted. They haven't yet been consulted at all. Speaker, if I go back to 2021, when we want to have a look at the showground, the Castle Hill area, Castle Hill High School, the then Minister, the now Minister for answered in opposition, the Honourable Courtney Hussos, when she was in opposition, she asked this question in April 21. Why has Castle Hill High not been considered for an upgrade given how many demandables it had? Had 41, it's now got 50. So why is government not considering a school there when it has more? In addition, the Honourable Courtney Hussos asked on the 6th of December 2021, she said, why has the Department of Education made no catchment changes or infrastructure investment to relieve the severe overcrowding at Castle Hill High School? Well, that severe overcrowding is still there, and yet government has done absolutely nothing, Speaker. Baulkham Hills High School is also a shambles. The students don't have a play area to stand out. They've got to take turns. Speaker, we really need the infrastructure to support the Hills local government area. It is absolutely necessary for my community, and I call on government to provide funding for the infrastructure as required by this petition.
I thank the member. There having been 5 speakers, it is time for me now to call the Minister to speak in reply, and then the mover of the petition to finish up.
One day you guys will learn the rules.
The member for...
I'm happy to wait, Speaker.
The member for Blacktown, you're not helping. You're seeking leave to speak. Is leave granted? That's all right, leave's granted. Okay, I call the Minister, please.
I'm happy to wait, Speaker, until there's quiet. I think it's in the interest of everyone who's in the gallery and everyone who's watching to actually have a little bit of respect for their views and that they want to hear what's going on. Speaker, I wish to acknowledge the fact that the Mayor is in the gallery, other councillors and also those who signed this petition and signed this petition in good faith. The government acknowledges your concerns, and I do appreciate the passion with which this debate has been conducted. I do want to correct one thing at the outset. The Carr government and Bob Carr was known as Bob the Builder because he was building things. Right? The other thing I'd like to remind people of is in the period from 2011 to early 2023, members opposite were in government. It seems that there's been a suspension of disbelief during this debate that they had no control and no influence over what happened in the northwest of Sydney, when that is patently wrong. This petition, in actual fact, is a testament to the previous government's failure to invest in infrastructure in the Hills community needed over their entirety 12 years in office. That's what it is. It's a test, and the member for Kellyville during that period of time was no ordinary backbencher in that previous government. He was a member of the cabinet. He was a cabinet minister. And for over a decade, Western Sydney was asked to accept the overwhelming burden of new housing without the infrastructure that people in those homes deserved. Thanks to that decade of neglect, The Hills Shire Council has a shortfall in funding and local infrastructure commitments in Box Hill. These are the facts. These are the facts, Speaker. They may be inconvenient, but they are facts nonetheless. Just as the Minns government inherited an unprecedented level of debt and deficit in 2023, the people of the Hills Shire have been dealing with an infrastructure deficit delivered to them by that very same government. In the latest budget handed down in June 2025, the Minns government committed $24.4 billion to Western Sydney infrastructure alone. Let me list some of the infrastructure projects in the Hill local government area. A new hospital at Rouse Hill, upgraded Castle Hill Public School, upgrade to Excelsior Public School, new high school and primary school at Box Hill, new primary school at Gables, upgrade Rouse Hill High School, Annengrove Road upgrade, the Water Lane upgrade, Withers Road upgrade, 2 new open spaces at Kellyville and Bella Vista. This is in addition to the delivery of new open space at Beaumont Hills in 2024. Speaker, the Minns government has also introduced the Housing and Productivity Contribution Scheme to set up a long-term funding for state and regional infrastructure. When asked the question, does the state deserve long-term funding for infrastructure in New South Wales, members opposite said no. They said no. They voted against that option, and as a result, communities will pay the price in the future. Speaker, I can assure the Mayor, I can assure the petitioners, I can assure the Hills community that the Minns government is turning around the infrastructure deficit we inherited from the previous Liberal government, a deficit which the member for Kellyville, as a senior minister, must be held accountable for delivering.
I thank the Minister. I now call the member for Kellyville in reply to this petition debate.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, I would like to acknowledge all of my members who partook in this particular debate, the member for Hawkesbury, the member for Castle Hill, the member for Riverstone, Blacktown, the denied member for Winston Hills, who represents a large portion of the Hills, and I acknowledge the contribution by the Minister. Mr Speaker, we are not NIMBYs. We welcome providing new homes for families, but it must be planned, supported and sustainable. I don't think there is a person in this gallery or online that would deny the legacy that we left our area when we came to government and over 12 years and the infrastructure delivery. I don't need to stand here and go through that and tell you what that was again, because you see that, you visualise that, you use that just as I do every time I come to Parliament. You travel on a world-class public transport system of Sydney Metro. Our children had enough schools, they had playing fields. In the past 2.5 years, the increase in the Box Hill densities in that one suburb, which was a suburb completely designed by the New South Wales Planning Department, has gone from a suburb expected to be 26,000 and it will soon be home to 50,000 residents. Is it any wonder that those people are sitting in gridlock traffic, sometimes unable to even get out of their driveways? How then can you consider practically and in any sense of sustainable planning to put an additional 60,000 people over the next 5 years into the Hills Shire without one announcement of an additional piece of infrastructure? I ask the people in the gallery to consider everything you have heard today. Have you heard of one new school? Have you heard of one new rail line? Have you heard of a playing field? Have you heard as much as a bus shelter? There is no delivery of services, and this failed planning debacle is on the Minns Labor government.
I thank the member. Order. The question is that the House take note of the petition. All of that opinion say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The debate on the 20,000 signature electronic petition on a fight for fairer hills having concluded, I thank the guests in the gallery, and I also am tempted to thank the members in the House.